Hello and welcome. It's Sally, your IELTS teacher from the West London Tuition Academy. Great to be with you. I have got a little topic we can talk about today. It's going to help you with your IELTS exam. Now, today we are looking at listening and how to pass the listening exam. Now, we are really thinking here about tips and strategies and advice. So this isn't really language learning. This is more exam strategies. How can you make sure that when you go into that exam with all your knowledge, that you get the best result you can? So it's not so much teaching you how to use English, but it's teaching you how to pass the IELTS exam, because both of those things are important. You need, of course, to have the skills, but you also need to have the exam passing skills. So I hope that these few little tips are going to be useful for you today. Okay, so we're going to go through various things that are very important when you're doing the listening exam. Now, the first one is spelling. Remember, you have the answer, you've listened to the answer and you've written it down. But if it's not spelt correctly, then you will be marked. It'll be marked wrong. So for example, you hear the word, you hear the correct word, but you don't spell it correctly. Imagine you spelt, oops, let me go back. Imagine you spelt accommodation like this. No, you won't get the mark. You can see it's not spelt wrong. You have to have the double C and the double M. So how do you solve this problem? Well, the answer is to check, check, check. At the beginning and at the end of the listening part, you will have 30 seconds to go through the questions and to check your answers. So during this time, if you know that spelling is one of your weaknesses, check all of your spelling, because it's a shame to get the right answer without the spelling. You won't get the mark. Another very important point is pay attention to the questions. So carefully read the questions. Think about the key words. So this will help you focus on the correct part, and then you can just sort of skip the other parts. So really think about those key words. Also, write them down exactly as you hear them. If you write a related word or a synonym, it would be a mistake. So let me give the example here. If perhaps the recording said very cold and you wrote really cold, it would be a mistake. You wouldn't get the mark. Maybe the recording said big, but you wrote large. You wouldn't get the mark. So really pay attention to the question. Again, the questions in the answer, so the questions that you read are not the same words that are given in the recording. They nearly always give you synonyms. They want to test how good your vocabulary is. So everything pretty much in the questions are rephrased, or they're given synonyms, or they're related expressions. So for example, you might hear less than quarter of students pass the exam, but in the answers it might be something like only 23% of students did well. So you see, they mean the same, but what is said will not be what is written in this particular multiple choice, for example. Maybe in the listening you hear poor results, but maybe in the multiple choice it might say something like the students performed poorly. So this is actually a really good way of expanding your vocabulary. As you listen and you do these exams, and for practice, you can take away these synonyms and you can build your vocabulary. So think of it as a good thing, not a bad thing. The other important thing is they will tell you there's a number of words that you can write in an answer that will be specified. Just please do what they say, because if you don't, you will lose the mark and it will be such a shame. So they might write something like no more than 2 words and or a number, or 1 word and or a number. So if you wrote, if it said 1 word and you wrote 2 words, you wouldn't get the mark. And just remember, guys, that a hyphened word is considered as 1 word. All right, so just remember, hyphen words are 1 word. But read the instructions very carefully, because it would be a shame to lose the mark just because you didn't read the question correctly. And the other thing is, you know, don't leave blank answers on your listening. It's crazy time. It's very, very difficult part of the exam. But if you don't know, just guess. It's not an exam where you're given minus marks for incorrect answers. So you may as well just guess. And a good way of guessing is to try and work out the part of speech. So if it was a gap fill like this, it might say something like, the restaurant offers a breakfast. So we didn't hear what the breakfast was. We didn't know what it was, but we can make a guess. So we can think, what part of speech would be in here? Well, look, it's describing breakfast. So it is an adjective. So we're thinking of ways you can describe a breakfast. What kind of breakfast could it be? Well, it could be an English breakfast, a continental breakfast, a full breakfast, etc. So, you know, that's a really good way to have a proper guess. Now, of course, be careful. Pay attention. Is there an article? Does it say a? So if there is an article with an a, you know that the first letter is a consonant. So for example, it's not going to be, here we have this a, it wouldn't be a unusual breakfast. It would be an unusual breakfast. So we know that unusual is not going to be the correct answer, just because that article gave us the clue. It was grammatically correct. And the other thing to think about really is always pay attention to the articles and the plurals. So you might not hear the S, but if the question has an article in it, then it can't be students, can it? It would have to be a student. So of course, is singular. So you'd have to make sure that the response that you write is also singular. So just by writing the S, students, you wouldn't get the mark. Okay, guys, what else? Oh, here's one, intonation. So you can tell kind of what, and this is part of the listening exam. Do you understand just normal everyday conversation? And of course, English is a language where we use intonation to express our feelings, the same words, but it depends on how you say them. Let's think about this. So yeah, we can express surprise, delight, disappointment, just with the same words, just how we said it. So for example, if the speaker raises his voice or emphasizes certain words, it may mean that something important is being discussed. Let's look at this example. So there's a conversation between 2 people. Let's go to IKEA. There's an IKEA here. So there's an IKEA here. Just by emphasizing that word IKEA, it kind of gives the idea that Laura did not expect to have that kind of store there. So then if a task says, how did Laura feel? Well, you'd have to say surprised. Now, there wasn't anything, oh, I'm so surprised there is an IKEA here. No, just there's an IKEA here. So just the intonation is expressing some kind of emotion. So work on that one. Again, there might be things like hidden answers, you know, so it's not going to be so clear. The speaker doesn't answer the question directly. What they're doing is they're asking you to read between the lines. Read between the lines is kind of work out what the meaning is, even if it hasn't been said explicitly. So, for example, are you ready for the exam? And she doesn't say whether she is or not. She says, I revised only half an hour of the material yesterday and I just woke up. I should be examined. I should be at university in an hour. So of course, no. Is she prepared for the exam? The answer is no. She didn't say it explicitly, but you know, she only revised half the material and she just woke up. So no. And okay, the biggest tip I can give you is practice. Okay, it's quite a tough exam because in the listening, you have to listen, you have to read, and you have to write what you're going to say. So it's very difficult to do all three at the same time. So the best thing for the listening is to practice. And you know, maybe you are thinking that you would like to join us and our online course at the West London Tuition Academy. And I would love to be your teacher. So, you know, register, the details are below. You can email or WhatsApp us. And I'm also going to be making a few more of these little videos. I would love to share some more tips. So why not subscribe? Do it below. And for now, thanks a lot and see you next time. Bye.